Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu, and all glories to the assembled Vaishnavi devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. We're very much privileged to have His Grace with us today, who is going to be sharing with us the Nectarian Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we encourage devotees to be quite attentive. If you're not speaking, you mute yourself, and if possible, you turn on your cameras. So there will be a little bit more of interpersonal relationship. Well, so Prabhuji, without further ado, I can put the verse on the screen, or you may do that from your end if you wish to.
Put what on the screen?
The verse.
Okay.
I can share it.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
okay,
ahead.
All right. I think you have 2 verses today.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram shaiva narotamam devam saraswatyam vyasam tato jayamudurayat vedi ramayane shaiva purane bharate tata adavante chamadye chahari sarvatugiyate mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande shri gurum dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam. My Guru Maharaj grew up in Orissa where they have what they call Bhagavat Tungis, which is a place in the village where all the villagers would come together every night to read the Bhagavatam. And before they would speak on the Bhagavatam, they would sing a song. And he instructed me to do the same thing. So it just takes a minute. Paramananda He Madhava Padunga Luchi Makaranda Se Makaranda Panakori Anande Bolo Hari Hari Harinka Name Vandavela Parikori Be Chakadolan Se Chakadolanka Padaye Manamo Rahu Nirantare Manamo Nirantare Rahu Har Krishna Boli Jiva Jam Har Krishna Boli Jao Jiva Moteu Dada Radha Dava Moteu Dada Radha Dava Moteu Dada Radha Dava Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam, the King of all literatures. This is Canto 3, Chapter 8, text number 8 and 9. Sankhyayan Paramahangsha Mukyo Vimakshamano Bhagavad Vibhutihi Jagada Sosmad Gurave Nivitaya Parashayata Brihaspatischa. The great sage Sankhyaena was the chief among the transcendentalists, and when he was describing the glories of the Lord in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that my spiritual master, Parasara, and Brihaspati both heard him. Text number 9. Provachamayam sadoyalirupto muni palaschena paranamadyam soham tavaitat katayami vatsa shradalave nityam anubrataya. The great sage Parasara, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Palasya, spoke unto me the foremost of the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I shall also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you're always my faithful follower. Srila Prabhupada's purport, the great sage of the name Palasya is the father of all demoniac descendants. Once upon a time, Parasara began a sacrifice in which all the demons were to be burned to death because his father had been killed and devoured by one of them. The great sage Vasishtha Muni arrived at the sacrifice and requested Parasara to stop the deadly action. And because of Vasishtha's position and respect in the community of sages, Parasara could not deny the request. Parasara, having stopped the sacrifice, Palasya, the father of the demons, appreciated his Brahminical temperament and gave the blessings that in the future he would be a great speaker on the Vedic literatures called the Puranas, the supplements of the Vedas. Parasara's action was appreciated by Palasya because Parasara had forgiven the demons out of his Brahminical power of forgiveness. Parasara was able to demolish all the demons in this sacrifice, but he considered, demons are so made that they devour living creatures, men and animals, but why on that account should I withdraw my Brahminical qualification of forgiveness? As a great speaker of the Puranas, Parasara first of all spoke on the Srimad Bhagavat Purana because it is the foremost of all the Puranas. Maitreya Muni desired to narrate the same Bhagavatam he'd heard from Parasara, and Vidura was qualified to hear it because of his faithfulness and his following instructions received from superiors. So Srimad Bhagavatam is being narrated from time immemorial by the disciplic succession, even before the time of Vyasadeva. The so-called historians calculate the Puranas to be only a few hundred years old, but factually the Puranas existed from time immemorial, before all historical calculations by the mundaners and speculative philosophers. Gora Graganya Ganagota Goloruharam Goranga Gudachama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavadam Satatam Namami. So this verse and purport is speaking about Parasara Muni, who was the speaker of the Puranas. And how did he get that position? Because he was able to forgive something which is unforgivable. Right? His father had been killed by the demons, and the demons were wrong. Parasara Muni wanted to stop them, wanted to burn them to death, because not only did they kill his father, but he ate his father alive. So it's a good thing, right? To go and kill those demons. It's their karma. They deserve it. And you're going to protect other people by doing so. But it shows here a higher principle, the principle of forgiveness. So principle of forgiveness spoken about in many places. In the 15th chapter of the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Parshuram's father, Jamadagni, speaks to his son after his son killed Kartavirya Arjuna. Parshuram tells him, Vayam hi brahmanastata, kshamaya hananatam gataha, yaya loka guru deva paramishcha magat padam. He says that, my dear son, we're Brahmins. And the Brahmins, they have this quality of kshama, the quality of forgiveness. And because we have that quality of forgiveness, we're worshipable by everyone. This is why the Brahmins are the head of society, because they have this quality of forgiveness. So important is the quality of forgiveness. And this is something I want to speak about today, and about how forgiveness is a qualification of a speaker. And Parshuram's father Jamadagni then goes on to tell him, Shamaya rochate lakshmir, that just by forgiving, Krishna becomes pleased by that. Brahmishori yata prabha. Krishna becomes pleased with someone just by them forgiving. I heard an amazing story some years ago. It's in the news, actually, that there was one community of Amish people in America. And there was one crazy person who was delivering milk to the Amish people there regularly, or picking up milk from them. He was selling milk somehow and involved with them. And one day he went to their school, a small school with maybe 20 children who were about the age of 10 to 12 years old. And he lined them all up and he just started killing them one after another, shooting them dead. And the Amish, these are their children. It's a very small community. What did they do in response to that? One of the first things they did is they raised money to help that person, the crazy person, killed himself. And that community raised money to help that man's wife. And they went to her and they said, we forgive you. You can't even conceive that. Forgiveness is such an amazing quality, and everyone who heard that story about the Amish community, they're so very, very impressed. So the story about how Parashara Muni became the speaker of the Bhagavatam, is a famous speaker of the Puranas in general, and the author of the Vishnu Purana is described in the first canto, first chapter, very beginning of the Vishnu Purana, the famous section. And he's speaking there to Maitreya Muni, and he tells him about his grandfather, Vishishta. And he said that when I heard that my father was eaten by a Rakshasa who was sent by Vishwamitra, Kroda Maitreya Sin Mama Tula. Mama Tula. Mama means mine. Atula means unequaled. Mama Tula Kroda. My anger was unequaled. He became completely furious. And so then Parashara Muni started a great sacrifice to destroy the entire race of Rakshasas. And hundreds of Rakshasas were destroyed in that sacrifice. And as they were being destroyed, the whole race of Rakshasas, his grandfather Vishishta Muni then spoke to him and told him, Alam atyanta kopena tata manyamimam jahi rakshasa naparadhyante pituste vihitam hitat. He said, enough, Alam, you stop this. This is atyena atyanta kopena. Means it's too much anger. Kopena means anger. Yanta means it's too much. Too much anger. You have to stop this. The Rakshasas are not at fault. He said that actually your father's death was ordained by destiny. So he says, who is it that gets angry? Mudhanam esha bhavati kroda gyanatavan kutaha. Persons are fools, mudhas. They're persons who become angry. And what reason is there for a wise person to become angry back at them? And he says, Hanyate tatakakena, who's killed by whom? Because every man, Swakrita Bhukpuman, has his own, he's the enjoyer of his own actions. Saschit yashapi mahato vatsakleshena manavai yasasas tapasas chaiva krodho nasa karaparaha. And then Vishwamitra Muni, Vashishta Muni, began to explain to him about the nature of anger and how anger destroys a person's honor. Yasasa means honor, yasasa means fame. Yashoda means that person who's da gives yasha, fame. It destroys your fame, it destroys your honor, it destroys your tapasya. Yasasas tapasas chaiva, kroda nasa karaparaha. Kroda, anger, nasa karapara. It destroys all these things. It's the greatest destroyer of honor and austerity, which people have accumulated through great difficulties. Kleshena klesha means difficulties. They work very, very hard to get this honor, this austerity, and they lose all those things. So he goes on to explain to him how great sages, they stay away from anger. And he says, you should not be controlled by anger. And in his Vavarta Deepika commentary on this verse of the Vishnu Purana, Sridhar Swami explains, Yasas tapasor nasakadvad eva swargapavargayo swargamokshayo vyasade pratibandha. That anger, it destroys, it causes hindrance to elevate one to the heavenly planets and liberation, because by its nature, anger destroys honor and austerities. Tasya karanam kopaha. Anger is the cause of all that. So he says, hey, tata tadvasa ma bhava. Don't be controlled by anger. This is a qualification of a speaker of the Puranas. This is a qualification of the speaker of the Bhagavatam. They have to see everyone equally. They can't have friends and enemies. Otherwise, they're not able to be a speaker of the Bhagavatam. And he goes on to explain to him that Kshama Sara Hisadava. Kshama Sara Hisadava. Sara, the essence of a sadhu is Kshama, is forgiveness, mercy. That's the essential quality of a sadhu. So out of respect then to his grandfather, Parasara stopped the sacrifice. And Vishisha Muni was very pleased with him. And then at that time, Palasya Muni also arrived there. And he spoke to him, and Palasya Muni told him, because in great anger you took shelter in forgiveness. Vairi mahatidyat vakyat gurur asyashrita kshama. Asyashrita. Ashrita means to take shelter. You took shelter of kshama. Although you had so much good reason to be angry. They killed your father. They ate your father alive. They're murderers. They're horrific, terrible creatures. But you didn't take shelter of this anger. Rather, you took shelter of forgiveness. And you did that, he says, particularly, guru, vakyat guru, on the strength of hearing from your guru. So many times devotees, they become angry. It's natural. In the material world, we become angry for so many different things. Someone steals our coppers. Someone takes away our shoes. Someone says some bad thing about us, or this or that. And then we want to retaliate. And we have good reason. If I expose this rascal, if I say something in public about them, then everyone will know their position. It's a good thing. I'm trying to help other people. I should be a devotee. I should speak the honest truth. But we should hear from Guru. And by hearing Vakyat Guru, we learn that we should ashrita kshama. We should take shelter of forgiveness. And therefore, our line is a line of Nityananda Prabhu. Adosha darasi mora Prabhu Nityananda. It's described by the poet Krishnadas that Lord Nityananda, he's that person who doesn't see fault in anyone. So if we want to be followers of Lord Nityananda, we also have to not see fault in others. If we start seeing fault in others, then how can you go and speak the Bhagavatam? How can you speak the honest truth? You'll be looking at everyone, you'll be thinking, this person's good, this person's bad. I don't like this person, they're from America. I like this person, they're from Europe, they're from India, they're very good. But this other person's bad. I don't like this person because they come from a particular religion, they have a particular ethnicity, they have a particular kind of education, they dress in a certain way, they belong to this group or that group. Well, then we can't preach the simple truth. So Palasya Muni said, because you took shelter, Vakyat Guru Ashrita Kshama, you took shelter of the words of your Guru, and you took shelter in particular Kshama, forgiveness, because of the words of your Guru, because of that Tvayatasmat Samastani Bhavat Shastrani Vetsyati, then you're going to know all Shastra. Shastra is not something that we just gain by study or by memorization. Shastra is something that we learn, we realize by the mercy, by the blessings of Guru. And then Palasya Muni went on to tell him that because you gave up your anger and you didn't continue with the destruction of my descendants, Palasya Muni, by the way, is also the grandfather of Ravan. He's a father of all the different demons. Then I give you another benediction. Now, someone may say, why do I want to please Palashyamuni? He's just, he's a father of the demons. He's on the wrong team. We should respect all persons. And because Parasara respected the words of his grandfather, and he stopped his anger, and he took shelter of forgiveness instead, then he pleased this personality, Palashyamuni. And Palashyamuni gave him a benediction that Parasara may not have even thought existed. And that great benediction, he told him, Purana Samhita Karta. You'll be the Karta, the author. Karta means the doer, the author, the person does something. Lord Brahma, one of his names is Jagat Karta. He's the creator of the universe. Purana Samhita Karta. So you'll be the author of all the Puranas. Bhavan Vatsa Bhavishyati. This thing will happen in the future. Devatar Paramartam Cha Yatavad Vichyate Bhavan. And you'll perfectly understand the nature, Devata Paramartam, the true nature of the Lord, of the different Devatas. Prabrite Cha Nibrite Cha. And however you're doing, you're doing prabriti, you're doing nibriti, you're engaging in activities, you're giving up activities, whatever kind of karma you're doing, karman astamala mati, mat prasadat asangdigda tava vatsa bhavishyati. By my grace, by the grace of Sadhu Guru, we'll have some understanding. Again, we're born in the darkness of ignorance. But by the mercy of Gurudev, we realize these different things. We realize Shastra. We have to have the mercy of Guru. Otherwise, we can't understand Shastra. And then Vasishtha told him that everything that Palashyamuni said, this thing will become true. In the prayers of the Avanti Brahman in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse which we have on the wall of our prasadam hall upstairs here in our ashram. Speaking to you from Jagannath Puri Dham at our Gora Research Institute. And the Avanti Brahman speaks about the nature of the mind. Tam durjayam shatrum asaya vegam aruntudam tanna vijichikechit. Kurvancha sadvigraham attamachar mitranudasina ripun vimudha. So he says that this mind is very, very difficult. Tam durjayam shatrum. The mind is a real shatra. Shatra means the enemy. This mind is our greatest enemy. It's durjaya, very, very, we say ki jai. Jai means to conquer. But this is tam durjaya. It's very difficult to conquer this mind. Asaya vegam. It has so many, many different urges and desires. And what happens when we listen to that mind, it torments our heart. We become bewildered, vimudha, and we start concluding, this is my mitra, this is my friend. Udasina, this is someone who is not really my friend nor my enemy. And this is ripun, this is my enemies here. And this is a symptom of someone's a vimudha. They're completely bewildered. So how can such a person speak on Shastra? We still speak Shastra because for our benefit, for our purification. But the real speaker on the Bhagavatam, the real speaker of the Puranas, is someone who has the quality of forgiveness and doesn't hate, doesn't have this sectarianism. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this sectarianism in a very beautiful scientific way in the third shower of his Chaitanya Siksamrita. And he says there that someone who's controlled by prejudice, they'll have lots of problems. Because from that prejudice comes partiality, right? I have this prejudice. I like these kind of people. I don't like these other. So then that means you don't like other persons. You're partial. Then he says from that partiality comes disrespect for truth. When people become absorbed in mundane politics, the nature of politicians is that they say that in America, the Democrats are good, the Republicans are bad, or vice versa. And all the Democrats are very bad. And this is disrespect for truth. Because Nobody's a Democrat, nobody's a Republican. They're all born as babies in this world. It's not that when they come out of the womb, they say, oh, I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat. But when we start treating them with partiality and labeling them and putting them in a particular group, that's disrespect for the truth. In America, in the United States, they have the Declaration of Independence, and some of the first words is, we declare these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. But they consider this to be a self-evident truth, that everyone by their innate nature is equal. How they're equal, they can't really explain that, because nobody's equal financially. We're all, one person has money, another person doesn't. We're not equal in terms of physical strength, education, beauty, anything. But still, we all have this innate understanding that we're all equal. That's a truth. They don't have a scientific understanding of it, but it's a basic truth. Bhaktivinoda then goes on to say, wearing the signs of a Vaishnav. Maybe I should put this on the board here. I think I can share things here. This is a beautiful, beautiful statement from Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Let's see. Oh, great. Wearing the signs of the Vaishnav is one of the methods of cultivating devotion, which involves the body, right? We cultivate devotion by wearing tilak. We're having a long discussion about tilak recently, and some devotees are saying, why not wear Radhakund tilak or this or that? But tilak is one of the pancha samskar. There's 5 different elements to getting initiated, and one of them is accepting the tilak of our guru and the tilak of your particular guru varga, and the line of gurus that you come in. They have a certain tilak. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was wearing Gopi Chandan tilak. And we know that because it's mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that on one occasion he put on Radhakund tilak. It was amazing. It was a very unusual thing. Otherwise, generally, Mahaprabhu was wearing the tilak of the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, which is Gopi Chandan tilak. So Bhaktivinoda says that this is a way to cultivate devotion. Wearing kunti mala, tulsi beads, wearing tilak, that helps us. When we wear tilak, we offer our body to the Lord. We make it into a temple. He says, but if we think that bearing these signs of the Vaishnava is a distinguishing characteristic of a Vaishnava. In other words, if someone doesn't have those different symbols, then they're not a Vaishnava. He says that's a prejudice arising from sectarianism, and controlled by such false beliefs, a person may not respect a real Vaishnava who's not wearing those marks. Jad Bharat, no one recognized him as a sadhu. He just looked like a mad person. He didn't have tilak on. He didn't have kunti mala or japa mala or anything like that. Just like a crazy person. But then Maharaj Rahugana realized this is a very great Vaishnava, a great sadhu. If a devotee has such prejudice and he can't find good association within his own sangha, then he won't venture out to find good association elsewhere. Sometimes we see that in our own society. Someone's in a particular group of devotees, our Gurudev is great, Amar Guru, Jagat Guru. And they have this prejudice. Everybody else is bad, only my Gurudev is good. Then they can't find other good association. And that other good association may also be outside of our group. It may be with other Vaishnavas, it may be with Christians, it may be with Muslims. I've been living in Jagannath Puri now for over 31 years. And we've had so many people over the years come to Puri for parikrama. Different devotees have sent people. Once some friends sent a Muslim couple. They were hardcore Muslims doing namaz every day and things. And they sent it, but they liked devotees, something. And they came to Puri. We took them in. We didn't preach to them at all. We just tried to make friends with them. And it was so nice. I learned so much from them. They were very, very beautiful persons. But if we have some prejudice, oh, you're a Muslim, you're bad. Or you're a Christian, or you're a Gaudiya Mat person, you're this or that, then maybe we can't appreciate a saintly person. Then maybe we can't get good association. Bhaktivinoda says, and since nothing can be accomplished without good association, such a devotee falls into a dangerous position. And it all comes by someone who's originates from someone who's controlled by prejudice, which causes many problems. That prejudice, from it comes partiality, from partiality comes disrespect for the truth. And then we just start seeing external things, how someone's dressed, which group they belong to. We have our Sangha. We have our society in ISKCON, we're followers of Srila Prabhupada. This is our family. But it doesn't mean that we can't love and appreciate other persons. It doesn't mean that we can't appreciate saintly persons. Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple, who has been living in Italy for many years, told us once that he was distributing books. And someone told him, you should go to such and such Catholic priest. He's very open-minded, and give him some books. So Prabhu went there, and he knocked on the door, and priest answered the door. And here's this Hare Krishna devotee standing there with some books in his hands. And Tri says, my dear sir, we wanted to give this to you. We heard that you appreciate, you're a very open-minded person. You might appreciate these books on spirituality. And the priest stopped. And he didn't take the books. He looked it down on the ground for a moment, and then he looked back up at Tri. And he said, if I take these books, I may get in trouble. He said, but I think there's far more enemies in this world than there are devotees. And to meet someone who's preaching about God, even in a different way, is a special thing. And he accepted the books. That's a very saintly person. We should appreciate that. Bhaktivinoda then goes on in the last couple of sentences in this paragraph. He says, those who are bound to the Varnashram system by prejudice also fail to develop a taste for a higher level of bhakti. So someone's bound up sometimes by Varnashram, and they're thinking of Varnashram, I have to follow my ashram, my nature of being a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. I'm a Grihastha, I'm a sannyasi, I have to do this thing, I have to act according to this. They're bound up by that. And if they're bound up by that, by prejudice, that I have to do this Varnashram, this is good, as other things are not good, that person will fail to develop a higher level of bhakti. And then he says, sometimes hatred, which degrades a person even more, may also appear. So this is the nature of anger. We have to be very, very careful. If we want to speak on the Bhagavatam, if we want to share Krishna consciousness with other persons, we have to be very, very careful to give up this sectarianism, this attitude of hatred toward other persons. It's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavad that Bhakti Swabhava, what is the Swabhav means the nature, the characteristic of a bhakta, the devotee, agya dosha kshama kori, that he forgives any offenses of any ignorant person. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says a similar thing in Madhya Lila chapter 2, a verse I like to meditate on. It's a good verse for writers. He says, Jadi hohe ragadesh, tahan hohe avesh, sahaja vastuna jai likana. Likana means to write. Jadi means if. Jadi hohe ragadvesh. If I become involved in other people's raga and dvesh, their likes and dislikes, tahan hohe avesh, that thing covers me. That avesh, those feelings like that. And then sahaja, vasana jai lakana. Sahaja means the simple. Then I can't speak the simple truth. I can't write the simple truth if I become involved like that, if I start taking on other people's likes and dislikes. And therefore, throughout the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, Pratyak samanasuyave, because you're anasuyave, Arjun, because you don't have any envy. I'm speaking this to you. And then later in the 18th chapter, he says, Idam te narapaskaya, don't speak this. Don't speak this Bhagavad Gita. And he gives a list of people, narapaskaya, someone who doesn't have any tapasya, nabhaktaya, who's not a devotee, Kadachana, you should never do it. Natasha Shushave Vacham, Natasha Shushave means someone who's not doing engaged in service to the Lord, to the devotees, and someone who's abhisuyate. Abhisuyate means someone who's envious. Don't speak this Bhagavad Gita to them because they can't understand it. So we have this problem. We have this envy of other people. We have to give that up. We were telling a story recently in Vrindavan about Alexander the Great and how he had left Greece and he came to India, and people in Greece had told him that we heard about these amazing people in India called yogis and sadhus. Could you bring one of these sadhus back to Greece? So he was searching for some sadhu. And then one day he found one sadhu in the forest, was sitting under a tree meditating. And so Alexander stood in front of him very patiently. And after some time, finally, that sadhu opened his eyes, and Alexander saw that his eyes are very, very, had this powerful light in him. It's like a very powerful person. And so Alexander very reverentially said, "My dear sadhu, you please accompany me to Greece. I'll give you everything you want. We have nice food. If you'd like a wife, actually, if you want, we can give you 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 different wives. Just whatever you like, come with me." And that sadhu shook his head and said, "Thank you very much. I I don't need any wives or anything. I'm happy with what I have." And this is the first time in his life Alexander had been raised, as we say, with a silver spoon in his mouth. No one had ever refused anything that he wanted. And Alexander became furious, and he blew into a rage. He took his sword out. And he said, "Do you know who's speaking to you? It's me. I'm the great king, Alexander. And if you don't listen to me, I'm going to cut you into pieces." And that sadhu just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Okay." He said, "Actually, you can't kill me. You can kill my body, but you can't kill me, because my body is just a garment that I wear. I'm not the body. I'm not the deha. I'm the dehi, the person dwelling inside the body. And you say," that sadhu said, "you say that you're a king, but if you don't mind, I can tell you who you are." And Alexander said, "Well, what do you think of me?" And he said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I think you're a slave of my slave." and Alexander said, what do you mean, a slave of your slave?" And then in a voice full of compassion, that sadhu told him, "I've mastered anger. Anger is my slave. But you've given way to anger so easily. You're a slave of anger, and therefore you're a slave of my slave." So this anger is the worst thing. And if someone is angry, they can't speak. They can't speak on the Bhagavatam. They can't speak on the Puranas. Once a devotee in a morning walk in Paris in 1974 asked Srila Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, what is a devotee's greatest enemy?" And Prabhupada answered, he said, "The devotee's greatest enemy is he himself. He's his greatest enemy." So you get rid of your rascaldom. Prabhupada said, you become your friend. Nobody's an enemy. You're your enemy. No one is your enemy. So this is the vision of a devotee. And this is the vision of Parasara Muni. He was able to overcome that anger. And because of that, he became a speaker on the Puranas. And because of that, he got the benediction to write the Vishnu Purana, Parasara Muni, a very great history. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Ishvara Prabhu was speaking with me earlier today. He saw that we're giving some katha for devotees in East Africa. And he said, you should leave some time for questions and discussion. And here it's 8:15 at night, which is usually we're taking rest about 20 minutes ago. It's another reason I'd like to finish also early. So if anybody has any reflections, comments, questions, or anything like that, you can go ahead and say something.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful Leela. Of course, it's not surprising to hear this wisdom from your humble self. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, just like Prabhuji said, you may raise your hand, either physical hand or the hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or to share your reflections.
And Sadeh Prabhu had a really good comment earlier too. You can also turn on your cameras.
Yeah, please, yes. Prabhuji, I have one question. I have quite a number of questions, but first question I have is, well, thank you so much. Like I said, it's always wonderful hearing you speak. And we apologize, the time is quite late at your end. But the first question I have is this topic of forgiveness. So many people have been talking about forgiveness. And I still do not truly understand what it means as me trying to be a devotee when someone tells me, Sahade, just forgive. Like in the case of Parasharamuni, past time you're talking about, somebody killed the father and he forgave him. Is that what it means, forgiveness? Is that what it means, that no matter what bad thing somebody does to you, you just let go of it? If you can throw a little bit more light as to what it actually means when a devotee is told to be forgiving.
It's a deep subject, as you can understand. Bhaktivinoda Thakur defines forgiveness in at least two different places that I found. One is in the second chapter of Chaitanya Siksamrita, and another is in the 22nd chapter of Jaiva Dharma. In Chaitanya Siksamrita, he explains that giving up the desire to punish someone who's committed an offense, that's forgiveness or tolerance. He equates forgiveness and tolerance to be the same. He said it's not wrong to punish offenders, but forgiveness is even a higher principle. And he explains how he gives examples of Prahlad Maharaj and Haridas Thakur, how they forgave their enemies and their worship as great examples by all. And in Jaiva Dharma, the question comes in a conversation between Vijay Kumar and his guru. Vijay Kumar asks, what is forgiveness? And his guru explains that forgiveness is when, even though there's ample reason to become agitated and angry, one's not agitated and angry. That's called forgiveness. And tolerance is a synonym for forgiveness. Again, in Jaiva Dharma, let me read a little something here. I'll put this on the board. It's Jaiva Dharma, it's really beautiful. He speaks, this is from the 8th chapter of Jaiva Dharma, and he speaks about how forgiveness is one of the aspects of bhakti. Let's look at this. When a person is situated in bhakti, his heart melts with love for Krishna. Because such a person sees all other living entities as servants of Krishna, his heart also melts with love for them. Thus, he has mercy on them. So I think this answers your question here. When we're situated in bhakti, when we have genuine love for Krishna, and that's not something that we can imitate. When we have love for Krishna, then naturally you see everyone else as Krishna's servants, and your heart melts with love for them. So you have mercy on them. And Bhaktivinoda says, in this way, mercy is naturally included within devotional service. Forgiveness is situated between mercy and humility. There's mercy in this way. One thinks, I'm poor and fallen. How can I be qualified to punish others? As I think it was St. Francis of Assisi once said, that if I've gotten mercy and I'm such a nasty fallen soul, then surely everyone else can get mercy too. When we feel that way out of natural, genuine humility, then he says, when this joins together with mercy, then forgiveness is born. In this way, forgiveness is also naturally included within bhakti or devotional service. Krishna is eternal and real Satya. The individual spirit soul is eternal and real. The individual spirit soul service to Krishna is also eternal and real. And the individual soul's temporary sojourn in the material world is also real. In this way, the relationship between the individual soul and Krishna, a relationship that is manifested as devotional service, is eternal and real. Therefore, eternal spiritual reality, humility, mercy, and forgiveness are four things naturally included in devotional service. So sometimes I remember there was an old friend of mine that used to be a sannyasi. He later got married and left Krishna consciousness, but he had a good sense of humor. When I was a temple president in Seattle, Washington, he was our resident sannyasi, and he used to make a joke. He would say, "Prabhu, please accept my offenses and forgive me for my obeisances." Just the opposite of what we generally do. And his joke was actually thoughtful, to try to make us think and realize that so many of the times we just do it in a mechanical way. Prabhu, please excuse me for my offenses and please accept my obeisances and forgive me for my offenses. We just say it mechanically. And so he flipped it around. So if we just try to do something in a mechanical way, it doesn't work. In this world, if some elevated person speaks nicely about you, it melts your heart. But if someone else comes to you and starts saying, "Hey, Sahadev, you are just the most handsome guy I've ever seen, and you're so powerful, and you're so intelligent, and you're such a great speaker, and you're this and that. And by the way, could I borrow some money?" How would you feel? You would feel disgust that this person's just a con artist. He's trying to cheat me and do something. So go away, get away from me. That's not bhakti. That's the opposite of bhakti. So although we should act in a humble way, it's beneficial to act in a humble way, even if we're not humble. It's beneficial to bow down. It's beneficial to beg forgiveness, even though we don't really feel like saying, "Please forgive me." All those things are beneficial, but ultimately, unless they're real, they don't work. So if when we practice bhakti, therefore Bhaktivinoda says, when we're situated in bhakti and our hearts melting with love for Krishna, then naturally we see every living entity as Krishna's servant. That's our process. And we have so many schools and we have so many things to memorize and Bhakti Shastri and this, and they're all good things. No doubt, they're beneficial things for developing bhakti, but we should understand that the ultimate thing is to develop bhakti. There's a beautiful verse that we have on our wall in my office here from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I found it in one article he wrote in Sajjana Toshini. I never found this verse anywhere else, but he says, "Padile shinile kabu Krishna prapti noi, bhajile bishuddha bhave tabi Krishna pai." Padile sunile kabu Krishna bhakti noi. Padile means to hear, means to hear katha, hear Krishna katha, to study shastra. Padile sunile means to hear. Padile means to study. Padile sunile, by studying all this Krishna bhakti, Krishna prapti noi. You can't attain Krishna just by studying, just by hearing Krishna katha. Bhajile vishuddha bhavi tabi Krishna pai. But when we do Krishna bhajan, then we can attain Krishna. Now, someone at this point may become confused, and they may say, but we also were told Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, that we had this Navavidi Bhakti. One of the first element is to hear. That's a quality of bhakti, so I should keep hearing. And now you're saying Padile Sunni Kabu Krishna Prapti Noi. You don't attain Krishna just by hearing. We attain Krishna through hearing when we practice hearing as bhakti. When we do it, my Guru Maharaj said we should hear as a service to Guru and Krishna. We hear because Krishna gets pleasure from that. Just like everybody in this world, if someone wants to speak about you and glorify you, we get some pleasure from that. Oh, they like to hear it. They like to say things about me. That's very nice. When we do it as a service for their pleasure, but if we just do it for my own particular pleasure, so that I'll become a great devotee, so that I'll know so many things and I'll become famous and this and that, Krishna prapti noi. I'm not going to attain Krishna then. But bhajile vishuddha bhavi, when I do bhajan of hearing and chanting, but I'm doing it with bhaja as service, then I attain Krishna. Is that helpful, Prabhuji? It's a great question,
Yeah,
Sadhguru
yes,
Prabhu.
yes, it's very helpful. I have a follow-up question, but there is a question in the chat room from Gopi Gita Devi. So I would like to
Okay.
read her question. It says, I also had a question regarding the forgiveness aspect you mentioned, Prabhu. How do we understand the concept of discrimination? If some devotees have tendency of being offensive to others, and we maintain a respectful distance by way of discrimination, is that not acceptable? Or sometimes those same people may get offended if we move away from them, but by close association, we may take on their bad qualities too.
Yeah. There's a saying in Bengali, Durte ki dandavat. I offer my dandavats, my pranams from a distance. I practice upeksha. When someone is dvisatsu, the Bhagavatam says they have the quality of envy, then we practice upeksha. We neglect that person. Neglect means neglect. It doesn't mean I go and poke them in the eye. Doesn't mean I write bad things about them on Facebook. It doesn't mean that I go to try to kill them or something or humiliate them. But it means I neglect them. I just stay away from them. I don't hate them. I don't love them either. I just stay away from them because their association's bad for me. Is that helpful? Gopi Geet, why don't you read your question and maybe you could turn your camera on so we could see you while you read it.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I have a child near me, so if I turn camera on, it will be quite disturbing.
All right.
One.
Sure.
So, do you want me to repeat what Prabhuji just read or what I've written?
Oh my gosh, Sahadev read it in such a nice way. I thought it was Sahadev Prabhu's question.
Oh,
Now
okay.
looking at you're a good reader. That's really nice.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so was that answer helpful for you, Gopi Geet?
Yes, yeah, just that area that if we are, paying dandavats from a distance, and they also don't like it, and they feel offended that why are you moving away, and they question back. So then it's like a lose-lose situation. What do we do then?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I have someone here in the room, my good wife, and she'd like to hear all your comments, but because I have this headset on, she can't hear them. I'm going to do a little test, Sahadev Prabhu, okay? I'm going to unplug myself.
All right.
And I want to see how, can you hear me very well now?
Yes.
Yeah, you can? Okay,
Yes.
great. So she can also hear all you guys too.
Okay.
A great comment, Gopi. Gopi Gay, can you just rephrase that again for 1 second so my wife can hear you?
Yes, so I was asking if we maintain a respectful distance from those who are consistently offensive to us or to others by discrimination, then also they feel offended by that we are moving away from them. And they ask the questions, why is it, why you are moving away, and you should have close association with us like before. Then what do? We don't want to offend them. At the same time, we don't want to have close association for that reason. So it's like a lose-lose situation. How do we navigate that?
We have to learn the art of social interaction. And 2 great examples of this are Raghunath Das Goswami and Gadadhar Pandit. My gurus used to paraphrase Raghunath Das Goswami, Mahaprabhu's instructions to Raghunath Das Goswami, that antarnisha bahya vyavahar, that antarnisha, on the inside, you be fixed in bhakti. Bahya vyavahar, on the outside, you be just like a normal person. It's not that you go to work and your boss comes up to you and you don't look at him. You say, you're a meat eater. I can't see your face. You have to not only look at him, but you have to be nice to him. You have to say, how is your wife now? I heard she broke her leg. Is she better now? How's your mother? How is this and that? You have to speak things, but you don't deeply reveal your heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about what is association. And he says that association takes place in the mind. But especially associate. So how is a grihasta associating with people in the outside world and not taking on their bad qualities? And he explains like this, that we have to learn the art of association. We be fixed on the inside, but be a normal person, so-called normal, on the outside, and be friendly with them. That's required. The other example is Gadadhar Pandit, who when, what's his name, Krishna Kun, when Gadadhar Pandit was approached by Vallabhacharya, who wanted Gadadhar Pandit to hear his commentary on the Bhagavatam. Mahaprabhu refused to hear his commentary. And because of that, all the devotees were staying away from Vallabhacharya. And then one day he got Gadadhar Pandit in the corner and said, "You got to hear." And he started speaking and speaking. So what could he do? He couldn't go anywhere. Gadadhar couldn't go anywhere. Yesterday was Gadadhar Pandit's appearance day. We went to Tota Gopinath. They have a special festival there every year for him. So Gadadhar Pandit, what could he do? So he checked out, so to speak, on the inside. His body was there, but on the inside, he just took shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we have to learn that art. And sometimes Krishna puts us in a situation like that where we're forced to take shelter internally. External shelter is not going to be enough because of the situation. We're forced to take shelter internally. Is that helpful, Gopi Gate?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bhakti Prabhin, would you like to make some comment?
Yeah, please, you may unmute.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Speak loud.
Yeah.
Oh, you cannot hear me?
Yeah, when you link, better.
Okay,
If
wonderful.
speak up.
Yes, I was not able to join for the kata, but I joined at the Q&A, and you also gave a kata even in the Q&A. So I was inspired by the points you gave, especially, that we cannot just rely on information when we want to practice bhakti. Sometimes devotees say we are in the Shravanam Sampradaya, we just have to hear. But actually, there's more to it. We need to also, process that information also, and also to, practice this forgiveness that is between mercy and humility, as you have shown. And I have a question about what you just said about we don't share confidential things with people who, who we still speak affectionately to. And I have a problem with that, to be honest. Sometimes I just keep sharing about Krishna consciousness to the same persons, and they keep, not taking it very seriously. But for some reason, I just want to please them or please myself by pleasing them, and want to be liked or seen as a smart person or enlightened person. So how can we deal with that?
That's why I said, Gopayad Gurum Atmanaha. We should hide our guru. We don't, these things which are very, very close to our heart, we have to learn to not share them with everybody, because sometimes we think someone's our friend, but they're not our friend. And we go and we express some very private thing to them, and they break our heart. They go and reveal that to other people. They cause trouble for us and things. Therefore, those things, there's certain things that we keep private. I think it's like the what I call the puppy syndrome. When you have a baby puppy, the nature of a baby puppy, it wants to be friends with everyone. And it goes to wagging its tail, and then someone kicks it. And then the baby puppy goes to a cat, and the cat scratches it. And then someone else throws a rock at it, and another dog bites it, and the car almost runs it over. And the puppy learns after some time, it cannot be friends with everyone. And so we have this kind of sense of puppy friendship, especially when we're younger, that, oh, this person, they're also devoted. They also live in the ashram. They come from the same country I come from. They speak the same language. they read the same book or this or that, they'll be my best friend, because we want some friend, and it's a cheap kind of friendship. But we were reading from Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu, wherein Srimati Radharani speaks about 3 types of friends. Maybe you heard me speak about that, Bhakti Prabhin, I don't know. The 3 different types of friendships. And one type of person is just a Maitri. They're a general friend. And they're someone that we do things with. We go on Harinam with them. We go to Bhagavatam class with them. We do some deity service together. They're our friend. And we're doing things together. That's a friend. But a deeper friend, she goes on to say, someone who's, I forget remember the terms, Krishna Kun?
Maitri.
What is it?
The first one is Maitri.
Okay. Actually, it was a Sukha.
Priya.
First one was Sukha,
Sukha.
Sukha, Priya, and Priya Sukha. That's right. So the first is Sukha, just a general friend. The second is called Priya, and Priya is someone who understands the pain in your heart and can sympathize with that. That's a real friend. With some people, when you start speaking about your problems and your pain in your heart, they're just not interested. And they just start talking on and on and on, and they can't listen to you. And then you realize, oh, this person actually isn't really a very close friend at all. So then there's a Priya Sukha. Priya Sukha is even better than a Priya. The Priya Sukha is someone who feels your pain and stays with you. They're always with you. That's the best friend. So that Krishna consciousness is the art of friendship. And it's a difficult thing sometimes for devotees in our society. We're kind of thrown together a lot of times in the ashram situation and whatever, and we're told we should be friends, and we should be friends. And these are devotees. These are people chanting Hare Krishna. They're very special, wonderful persons. But then we become disturbed because they're not acting like my friend. Sometimes they're acting like some other thing. And then because of that, we become disturbed. We sometimes lose our faith in Krishna consciousness. And as we've often mentioned, I came to Prabhupada's movement. I moved in the temple in 1982. Since then, I've seen so many people leave Krishna consciousness. I've never seen one person leave because they didn't like prasadam. I've never seen one. That prasadam, man, I just can't take that stuff. Forget it. No, I've never seen anybody who leaves because of prasadam. I've never seen anyone leave because they didn't like kirtan. Oh, that kirtan, it's just, no. I've never seen anyone leave because they didn't like the philosophy. But I've seen many people leave, everybody I've seen leave because they had some argument with the temple president, or someone was harsh with them. And then they think all the devotees are like this. And it's that person's fault also, because they're sentimental. They're looking for puppy friendships. And they're expecting, because this person lives in the same ashram, they're a devotee wearing tilak, they go to Mangal Artik, they must be a great friend. That person also has problems. They're living in the ashram, they're becoming purified. We respect them, we appreciate them, we love them. But are they going to be my deep friend? Not necessarily. That's something I have to be very careful about and very choosy about. I've experienced, to my shock over the years, that I also grew up with puppy friendship, that some of I'm deeper friends with some Christian persons sometimes than some of my own god brothers. Some persons initiated by my Guru Maharaj, but they can't think. At least they can't understand the way I think, and I can't understand the way they think. And I find some other person who appeals to me, and they may be a Christian, but they're a good person, and I can appreciate them. Doesn't mean I want to go be a Christian now or something either. I'll stay with my god brother that I don't agree with, but I may not reveal my mind as deeply to that god brother. I'll live with him because he's going to Mangal Artik and chanting japa. I won't live with the Christian because he's not a vegetarian, he's doing this and that. But I may speak my heart more to that Christian if he's a wiser person than I do to my own god brother. So that's the art that we need to learn of communication, of living in community. And it's our responsibility. When we're lazy, we just come to the association of the devotees, ISKCON society, we think it's all going to be nice and everybody's my friend. And we have this puppy friendship attitude until we get bitten and stepped on and run over and this and that. We have to learn very carefully who I'm going to share my heart with. And Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrita, he says, Dadati pratigrinati guyamakyati pritchati bhumte bojayate chaiva savidam pratilakshanam. He speaks savidam pratilakshanam, 6 different types of loving exchanges. And my Guru Maharaj commented on that, and our acharyas have commented, that those are, we should experience those with higher devotees, especially bhumte bojayate, especially, what is it, savidam pratilakshanam. Oh, I'm not thinking. Guyamakyati prichati. Especially when we reveal our heart. Don't just reveal your heart to anyone. Don't just reveal your heart on Facebook in front of the whole world. But do that in a very private way with someone who's more elevated than you. Is that helpful?
Very helpful as always, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Very nice to see you. Krishna Kun came running over to see your face a moment ago also.
Krishna Kun's Mataji. Jai. I cannot see her beautiful face, but I'm sure she's as radiant as always.
Oh, she's making faces. She doesn't want anybody to see her. But if you're lucky, you might hear her voice.
No, I just had a 1.5 hour organizational meeting Parikrama meeting with someone, so I'm not ready together right now.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I think we have Leela Purushottam hand up. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
You hear
Krishna.
me? Oh, yeah. My pranams, Hare Krishna. Thank you for Katha. I think I already tried once to express this thought in our Katha, but still I'd like to ask you about the art of, because somehow like we can speak about forgiveness in those like wonderful terms that glorify the character of the devotee. But what if we would see there a certain type of abhiman that, oh, I'm someone who's forgiving others, you know, like there is someone who can offend me. So, and I know that to try to usurp such a realization would be rather, like, especially considering myself, would be, you know, like sahajiya. Just I have a false ego and I can be hurt by others, but still, like, how to avoid in this attempt to apply forgiveness, how to connect it with like Trinada Pisunichana, Amanina Manadena, you know, like I don't actually you know what I mean? The direction of the thought?
Yeah, we
like is there a risk of like I remember I've been I remember a devotee.
Yes, I give you my blessings. I forgive you.
Yeah, something like that. Like I am the older devotee. I'm a more senior devotee, and you offended me, but I forgive you. And there is a certain abhiman in it. It's not like a Vaishnava quality in that sense. So how to deal with these things?
Well, it's the abhiman is there. That false ego is there when we don't have a real ego. Real ego means that we're a servant of Guru and Krishna. When we act according, when we're doing these same activities, hearing and chanting for ourselves, then it's false ego. Same activities. I want to be a big person. I want to be a big leader. I want to be a manager. I want money. I want this or that. But we do the same exact activities for the pleasure of Gurudev, for the pleasure of Krishna, that becomes bhakti. And then that person, their heart naturally melts. And they feel some love and affection for persons. And when they feel some love and affection for persons, then naturally there's mercy there. If you have some affection for someone, then you can have mercy for them. And then Bhaktivinoda says that in between this attitude of mercy, which comes from love and affection for someone, and our humility, our Tanada Pisanichina, the genuine humility, comes forgiveness. That forgiveness is situated in between that mercy and humility. And he explains the humility because someone is thinking, I'm so fallen, I'm so bad, but somehow or another, I'm living in Puri, we have this and that, but I'm so bad. This other person's so much better than me and so many other, how can I be qualified to punish them? And so then that desire to punish other persons goes away. Now, this is a sensitive subject, which should be understood in a social way too. You can't just go, just as you can't go to someone and say, hey, Prabhu, look, just be humble. Okay? You can't order someone to be humble. That's just hypocrisy. That's ridiculous. So in a similar way, we also can't go to someone and say, you should be forgiving, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Now, someone has been abused. There's a lot of devotees who've been abused and have suffered in our movement. How do we deal with that abuse? And Leela Purushottam, you've heard me speak about this before, I think, in the, where was that? In the Vrindavan Lilamrita by Nanda Kishore Goswami, is a very nice Bengali book written a few hundred years ago in the line of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He speaks about Krishna's behavior with the gopis at Kurukshetra. And the gopis were deeply, deeply hurt. They were hurt in a way we can't even conceive because Krishna is their everything. And Krishna left them. But Krishna told them, Ayashya, I'm going to return. I'm going to return. And then Krishna never returned. And it completely just broke their life to the point they wanted to commit suicide. And Rupa Goswami, even Lalita Madhav, says that Radharani and Lalita both committed suicide. So Krishna hurt them so badly, they did that. So that's a great offense. So when Krishna came before them, what did he do? Now, he could have just told them, hey, just chant Hare Krishna, you'll get over it. You know, you're not your body, it's your karma. He could have told them so many things. Krishna didn't do that. Instead, Krishna bowed his head and he said, I'm an offender. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, I'm an offender, and I understand if you'll leave me, if you don't want anything to do with me. He's the Supreme Personality of God. He's in everyone's heart. We can't leave him. We're totally dependent on him. But he's telling the gopis, he's so detached. He's recognizing their pain and suffering in a very realistic, practical way, and saying, if you want to leave me, I'll understand that, and I'll accept that. And that melts the hearts of the gopis. That's what's required. So Krishna's showing us there, it's not just philosophy. When he sent Uddhava to Vrindavan in the 47th chapter of the 10th canto, Uddhava spoke so much philosophy. And the gopis said, yeah, just go away. What is all this? Be yogis and meditate on Krishna. Krishna's everywhere. The philosophy didn't work. And Uddhava was very confused, because he's a disciple of Brihaspati, and he's used to philosophy solving all the problems. But when he went to Vrindavan, it didn't solve the problems. And later he saw Krishna, the same section in the Gopal Champu, rather, Jiva Goswami says that Krishna, when he met the gopis at Kurukshetra, he put Uddhava in front of him. So Uddhava was there watching Krishna's interaction with the gopis. And Uddhava then completed his, sometimes it's said that Krishna sent Uddhava to the University of Braj Prem in Vrindavan to teach him what is real love. But he needed to have some postgraduate study. It wasn't enough. He had his master's degree, perhaps, but he didn't have his PhD until he went to Kurukshetra. And he saw how Krishna dealt with the gopis. And then, now I understand. Now I can see him. So this is a very practical thing for us also. that we have to be real, we have to be genuine. And we can say, you know, someone, you've abused me, anyway, Prabhu, I forgive you. Unless you're very deeply in touch with yourself and you really mean that, you're going to cause yourself more problems, and you're not going to solve things for the society because you haven't really forgiven that person. And you're going to have PTSD, you're going to have stress, you're going to have all kinds of problems and things because you were abused and you haven't really dealt with it in a proper way. Yes, you do need to forgive them, but that forgiveness has to be genuine, has to come really deep from the heart. And generally, in Vedic culture, that forgiveness comes when we see the person who's the offender is doing something with sincerity. They're coming with straw in their teeth. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me, my God. What did I do? Please, I deserve chastisement. I deserve abuse. The lizard in our room is just making a noise, which confirms, Prabhupada, so that confirms what you're saying. That's required. But at the same time, what if that person never comes and pulls on his ears and his cheeks and begs forgiveness and cries? A lot of them won't. In fact, some of them will just come to you and say, it's your fault. I didn't want to abuse you, but you made me do it. You know, that's a classic abuser, classic line of abuser. And what can you do? You don't want to live with that for the rest of your life. So you have to be able to cope with it. And that's a big thing. It's a big subject, how to deal with that.
Yeah. In that sense, actually quite clarifying that the depth of what you quoted from 8th chapter of Jaiva Dharma by Thakur Bhaktivinoda, because he connects this ability and willingness to forgive, he connects it directly with the humility, and then it's not a matter of abhiman. It's not like, oh, I am here to forgive you, but you're only able to forgive when you're humble enough, and that's quite a different picture, actually.
Yeah, but that humility, that's you're making the point directly. That was what I was trying to get to. That humility comes from bhakti. It's not that I sit down and I try to cultivate humility. Prabhu, I'm really fallen. I'm really, really fallen. Really, really fallen. And I go on and on like that. It's not going to do any good. But that humility arises naturally from bhakti.
Yeah.
When I chant the holy name, when I get some taste for the holy name, I get some mercy from Gurudev, maybe in the form of chastisement, then that humility, that real humility arises.
And then only such a forgiveness can be something that is like true and honest, not just a show or something artificial that we don't really feel like that in inside our heart.
We all know this is the problem in our society with bhakti today. It's not that we don't have expert mridanga players and expert singers and expert speakers and devotees that memorize verses and gotten a bhakti shastri and a bhakti vaibhav and a bhakti vedanta degree, who have taken courses of the GBC with how to be a good manager and taken the disciples course and all the different courses and things. But we haven't learned to live that yet. If it's just an external thing, then it's not satisfying to the heart. And therefore, we see so many religions in the world, like Christianity, Prabhupada used to call it churchianity, which has very good principles very similar to bhakti. But we don't see people practicing it so much. Sometimes we do see good saintly persons. St. Francis, what's his name, the Pope Francis. He seemed like a very good, humble person to the degree that he could be in his way. Sometimes we do see some examples, but so oftentimes we just see people who are expert in memorizing verses from the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita and doing things in an external way because we're external persons. Bhaktivinoda calls us bahirmukjanas, external, not antarmukjanas. So Sahadev Prabhu, this is Leela Purushottam from Czech Republic, and he's one of the gems of Czech Republic. And I'm glad to see you, Leela, with a T-shirt on outside.
Yeah, finally it's possible. Just now after the kata, I'm going to put the potatoes into the earth.
Into the soil, okay. Thank you so much, Lila Purushottama Prabhu, for such enlightened questions. And of course, Madhavananda Prabhu, thank you so much for the beautiful answers. I would just like to say something in reflection to Bhakti Devi's question and statement at the same time, that we are oftentimes considered to be Shravana. We just hear, but as she was saying, we should be hearing with discernment. And I did not know so much about my guru, but my Gurudev at the time. But there was an interfaith program held in my country, Ghana, some time ago. And the host happened to know my Gurudev, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, so much. So he said that this man is a saint. He has no anger in him. So that is what I picked. And as I started relating with my Gurudev a little more intimate, there came a time one devotee was offering ghee lamp to Srila Prabhupada. And this devotee was quite young that time. Unfortunately, he took the ghee lamp too close to Srila Prabhupada's forehead. So my Gurudev dragged this devotee, and then he took the ghee lamp from his hands and then pushed his hand very close to the fire. He says, "How would you feel?" And I was thinking to myself, this is a person I was told he has no anger. So when you were talking about anger, that like those who speak Bhagavatam, they should be devoid of anger. I am wondering, is it because the person has anger, but he does not allow the anger to control him, or simply by having anger will be a disqualification to speaking the Krishna Katha? Because we understand Hanuman also used anger to serve the Lord. So if you may throw some light on that, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Das Thakur in Prem Bhakti Chandrika explains that we should be angry. We should use anger for the enemies of Krishna and persons who have offended the devotees. We should become furious with them. The famous story, Srila Prabhupada and the devotees were doing kirtan at a pandal once, and the devotees became inspired and they jumped off the stage and they started dancing with the crowd, and the crowd went wild. They loved it. So the next day, so the organizers of the program, when the kirtan started, they started grabbing the devotees and wanting to pull them off the stage. But it wasn't natural. The devotees didn't want to do that. And they started grabbing one of the Matajis. And Srila Prabhupada became furious. And he picked up a kartals and started swinging them like a chakra or something at the guy's head. So that anger is also there, should be there, against the enemies of the devotees. I didn't get into that. It's a very elaborate subject matter. There's so many different nuances and things to touch on, which in and of itself is an important point. Let's just look at that point. Bhakti is so subtle. If we take practically any point, we need to understand it's going to be applied differently in different ways, and it may be seen from different perspectives. To really thoroughly understand it takes mercy from Guru. So anger is something that we naturally have, and as you express Hanuman, my Guru Maharaj used to say that sometimes he'd tell the story how Hanuman went and rescued Sita from the Ashok Grove, and that Ashok Grove had the most amazing trees from all over the universe and plants and things. And later Hanuman was hearing Valmiki Muni speaking about the Ashok Grove, and he was saying, and they had these trees from this place and these flowers and this and this. And Hanuman said, no, It wasn't green, and everything was red. It was just red because Hanuman was so furious. He was so angry that's all that he saw was red. So that's bhakti. And someone should also have that. And the speaker of the Bhagavatam also should have that kind of anger. If someone is misbehaving, if someone's speaking wrong, I remember hearing Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj sometimes in Mayapur. Oh my God. Speaking, he was just shouting and shouting. My Guru Maharaj the same way, very, very heavily. But it was anger in one sense, but it was anger against Maya. It wasn't angry against the devotees. It wasn't sectarianism. It wasn't some partialism or something. Is that helpful, Sadeh Prabhu?
Oh, so helpful, so helpful. I was fortunate enough. One service I love the most is to fan the Guru when the Guru is in the Vyasasan. And so I was fortunate enough. His Holiness Guru Govinda Maharaj visited our country some time ago. And that was a service I wouldn't let go for anybody to do. And I was always fanning him. And I recently saw the photo, but somehow I can't find it now. But that was a special moment. Since we have Sati Devi, please, you may unmute.
And if we can see you, that would even be better yet.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, my husband's sleeping, so I have to leave the room. I had that forgiveness question. I hesitate to ask it because I was in the same way. Like, it kind of made sense to me. You said that we haven't had the bhakti yet to truly forgive, and there's many situations in my past where senior devotees have done things that really hurt me, and I don't think I've ever forgiven. Like, years and years and years, I've never forgiven these people. And I think I just prefer not to ever see them again, or just don't like this person. And I just think that with time it'll go away, but years have passed and I just choose to focus on something else, because I think that by focusing on something else, or by doing what I enjoy in Krishna consciousness, that it'll just naturally go away. So I was listening to Chitta Gopi on the Kadasi, and she was saying that, focus on what works for you in Krishna consciousness. So I was just thinking, that makes sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, but I don't know how to make sense of it.
Going back to this point we were making earlier, is a verse from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, which describes the behavior of a Madhyamadikari. And it says that if someone is dvisatsu means they're envious, then we practice upeksha, we practice neglect. So what does it mean that they're envious? It means that I see some envy in them, because I don't know. How do I know if Sahadev is envious or not envious? But if I see him doing something which seems envious to me, then I neglect it. I stay away from that. I have to. And I stay away from him as long as I see that quality of envy. And then if I see that quality going away, my heart is satisfied with that he's no longer envious, then I can associate with him with an open heart. But otherwise I can't. And if I try to artificially do that, oh, he's a devotee, he's a nice guy, and I act in a sentimental, like we were saying, puppy friendship kind of way, then I'm just going to get kicked and beaten and trodden down, and I'm going to suffer like anything. I have to stay away from that person. Now, abuse is another thing. And there are a number of statements, I'm not getting into it right now, it's a whole another subject, that if we see someone abusing a child, we see someone stealing money from the hundi, the deity box in the temple, someone abusing a devotee, and we don't do anything. We just say, anyway, Prabhu, I should be forgiving, I should be tolerant. No, you're being an offender. And whatever activity that person's done, that you're not, you have a responsibility when you see that thing to say something. Maybe you can say something to that person. Hey, Prabhu, what are you doing? Don't do that. That's wrong. And maybe they'll listen to you. And maybe maybe that's the place you begin. If they don't listen to you, then maybe you go to the temple president, you go to the GBC, you go to the police. We have a responsibility to do that. And then sometimes I've seen circumstances also where people say, but I tried everything. I went to the authorities, I went to this, the police, and this, but nobody would do anything. Well, in that case, what can you do? Maybe you should go some other place or stay away from that person and just take it, this is Krishna's arrangement, that I can't do anything. Kunti Devi was in that kind of situation. She saw Duryodhana tried to poison her son Bhim. Duryodhana tried to burn them alive in a house of lac, but she couldn't say anything. For so long, she couldn't do anything in that certain situation. Sometimes we're put in a situation like that. We just have to check out externally and become very, very internal. And therefore, there's that famous prayer, which is not practical for most of us. But Kunti Devi, she says, Vipada Santuta Sasvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru, bring on the problems. She said, problems are very good. Because when there's problems, I remember Krishna. My grandma once said, you can't pray like that. We can appreciate that. And when it happens, if we're able to remember Krishna, today Krishna Kun and I went for a walk in the forest, and I'm walking and I'm chanting and I'm thinking, what am I doing? This chanting. My lips are moving, I'm making this sound, but that's not chanting. Chanting means that I'm adding some feeling. I'm doing this thing my Guru Maharaj told me to do, but that's just something mechanical. The only thing that I can add that really belongs to me, to that activity, is my feeling. So we have to do that. Is that helpful, Sati Mataji?
Yeah, that's helpful. There's one other thing I thought of that. I remember one time, and I was staying in one temple, and I was like preparing like dressing for the deities, and I overheard like people who were like, you know, doing dressing on the altar, and they were like talking. Well, no, I heard it in the temple room. I could hear it through the temple. They were just talking for japa. And I never spoke. It disturbed me. And I told my Guru Dev, and he said, because they're my seniors, it's better for me not to speak because it'll disturb them, make them angry. So, but then my Guru Dev also has said before in lectures that if someone's doing something incorrect and we don't speak to them, that it's a form of hatred, saying to that person, I hate you because we saw them, you know, because we didn't speak to them. So there's times in my life where I've seen someone do something incorrect and I haven't spoken, and I felt like I probably should have tolerated it. And I feel like I was getting punished. I feel like I've been punished because I didn't tolerate, you know, so I was just like curious if you have any clarification on that.
Do you mind me asking, do you have any children?
No.
So when we have children, we learn how to chastise and things, because even sometimes someone's a parent, but the child, it's your child. And what you're telling them is correct, but they can't hear what you're saying. And in that situation, therefore, Krishna says, Idam te narapaskayana bhakti, don't speak to them. Don't speak Bhagavad Gita to them. If they can't hear from you, they're not going to listen. Ashwadadani Vimuke Prashinvati Yashchokpadesha Shiva Namaprada. The Padma Purana says the ninth offense of the holy name is to preach to someone who doesn't have faith in us. So my Guru Maharaj commented on this too, that if someone has faith in us, then we should take them aside and say, Prabhuji, you shouldn't eat prasadam in the bathroom. That's really not cool. we say something to them. But if they're not going to listen to us, if they're not going to hear, and they just become, yeah, don't preach to me, man. Leave me alone. Yeah, I know all that stuff. Then we have to practice upeksha, neglect. But at the same time, someone may say, but we want to help them. We want to help them, Prabhu. What can we do? But it's not just that devotee. There's billions of people on the planet we want to help who don't want to listen to us. So how do we speak to them? There's a beautiful instruction from St. Francis of Assisi, the Christian saint. He told some of his followers, he said, you should preach. And if necessary, use words. So, in other words, if they won't listen to us, then it means we have to do the hard work to act in such a way that they'll have faith in us. That's the bottom line. It's very easy just to go and preach to them, Prabhu, you shouldn't eat so many sweets. You should offer that before you eat something. You should, be more polite. Don't challenge the speaker. Don't put your shoes in that place. Don't eat with your left hand. It's very easy to correct people in those ways. But if they don't want to listen to us, what can we do? And they don't want to listen because they don't have faith. So then we have to behave in such a way that they'll have faith in us. Is that helpful now?
Yeah, that actually clears up a lot of things I've been confused about. So I like that. Thanks.
Thank you for a nice discussion. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you so much, Prabhuji. It seems, Prabhuji, you're preparing to take a leave, but I have one quick comment, and if you prefer, you may add some toppings to my comment, and that is, it is very important that when we hear somebody speak, especially Krishna Katha, we stay till the end, because if someone just listened to what Prabhuji said before the Q&A, one may have a very total misunderstanding, thinking that you just forgive whatever happens, no matter how. But we are learning that is not the case. I believe that we're trying to be devotees, and what makes us devotees is that we feel the pain of others, and we actually want to relieve others' pains. So if we claim to be devotees and we see someone suffering and we take our eyes off, assuming it's not happening, that is not helpful. So it's a true story that took place. It's not actually too far away from where I'm at. It happened in Lancaster, central Pennsylvania, where these Amish people forgave this, excuse my language, crazy guy who came to the school and murdered these little children. But even though they forgave this deceased person, if that person had not killed himself, despite the fact that the Amish forgave, the law would not have forgiven. The law would have dealt with this crazy guy. So just like Prabhuji said, when we see crime committed against people, abuse committed against people, we should try to do something about it. And I'm hoping and praying that people listen to this lecture or this katha so we can learn from it and we do not become insensitively passive, as if we are on this level when we are down here. I think certain things are meant for certain people, certain class of people, and we are in an organization in social spectrum, so we have to behave in such a way that we fit into society. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. And like I said, if you have some toppings to what I said and in general what has been discussed, you may do that.
Real quick, in the Bhakti Sundarbha, Jiva Goswami presents a very interesting discussion about forgiveness. And he speaks about Daksha. Now, Daksha offended Sati. We just heard from Sati just a moment ago, Sati Devi Dasi. He offended the wife, his own daughter, to the extent that she just wanted to leave her body. She committed suicide. So then, it's a long story. Daksha got his head cut off and the head of a goat was put there. And then he came to Lord Shiva and he said, please forgive me. And Lord Shiva said, no problem, I forgive you. But Daksha got a sinful reaction. Even though Lord Shiva forgave him, Daksha got a sinful reaction. He took birth again, but this time he took birth as a Kshatriya. Previously, he was a Brahmin. and the Haryasvas and the, what were the other brother? He had two groups of sons. And when Narad Muni came and preached to them, they all went and joined the Hare Krishna movement. And Daksha became very, very angry. And he cursed Narad Muni. And Jiva Goswami comments that this offense to Narad Muni, the seed of that offense came from his previous life with Lord Shiva. Now you may say, but he asked for forgiveness from Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva forgave him. Jiva Goswami explains that he got the kshama. There's two technical terms, shama and anugraha. He got the kshama. The kshama means the forgiveness. Lord Shiva said, it's okay, I forgive you. But Jiva Goswami points out that forgiveness is not enough. And sometimes someone's a child molester, or they've done some terrible, terrible offense. And they come to the devotees and they say, please forgive me. And then the devotees kind of sigh and they say, well, yeah, I guess so. I'm supposed to forgive him, right? And Lord Nityananda and Jagai and Madai and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of say, yeah, okay, I forgive you. But it's not enough. Anugraha has to be there. Anugraha means he didn't please Lord Shiva. He got the forgiveness from Lord Shiva, but he didn't please him. That was also required. And Jiva Goswami explains that in the case of Daksha especially, he should have chanted the holy names. He should have become a devotee. It's not enough just to say, I'm really sorry, please forgive me, but you have to change. You have to become a devotee and start chanting and things. So those two things are very fascinating. The kshama, forgiveness, but that's not enough. Anugraha also has to be that we have to get we have to please that person. Those are my thoughts on that. And I want to ask Sahadev Prabhu for permission to finish now. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I would like to quickly say to my other God brothers, God sisters who came in late, I learned this from my CEO, my job, that it says one of the most dangerous things to do in this world is to assume. So lots of my God brothers, God sisters assumed where the class was going to start, because we usually start 1 hour later than we did today. So most of them couldn't be here. But the most important thing is we have to act in such a way that it is exactly what has been said, what we've heard. So Prabhuji said so many wonderful things. I cannot go over them all. Therefore, I encourage devotees to go back to to YouTube and then listen to the entire class. And I strongly believe that we will be very, very much richly nourished by listening to this entire class. Prabhuji, thank you so much. And on that note, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us today. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hari Hari Panchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitnam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai,
All glories to His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu Ki Jai.
Jai,
All glories to assembled Vaishnava devotees Ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Sahadev.
Thank you, sir.
Sahadev, maybe on WhatsApp or something, you could send me a link to the YouTube recordings. Somebody will ask me for it, I think, too.
All right, we will do that. Thank you, sir. We will do that.
I'll go ahead and